You're listening to the Perth Property Show, Australia's only weekly property podcast by West Australian experts for West Australian listeners. Catch your latest episode every Monday at 7 a.m.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Perth Property Show. My name's Trent Fleskens, your host as always, and I speak to you today with another record of stock on market being broken. I cannot believe we only have 2,820 properties on the market. We lost, I think, about 60 properties in the space of a week. And we're here to chat today with Rash Dhanjal from the agency, one of the most prolific real estate agents in WA. His team certainly sells among the most properties in the state on an annual basis. And I thought it would be a very good idea to get him back in to get an update as to how the market is reacting to that 5% first home buyer guarantee scheme that Albo brought in over the last couple of weeks. How's it affecting the market, Rash?
Thanks, Trent. First home buyer scheme has, of course, put fuel in the fire, and we've had a lot of buyers inquire. Our inquiry rates significantly jumped by almost 50%. We were already busy prior to this scheme because we started to notice that the stock on market was starting to drop. And that meant inquiries were coming in hot and heavy as well. This has just made it even worse. I think owning a home in West Australia is becoming harder, and there's a lot of stress there from buyers. So.
Yeah, and it's interesting to start to have a conversation in a way that I guess people in New South Wales had been living and realising their reality over the last decade, really. We're actually starting to get, I think, towards spaces where it's becoming less and less in reach for young people. I think for the first time, I'm actually starting to accept it from a numerical point of view, that it's becoming harder and harder for an average young person in their 20s to have been able to save enough for their deposit. And you think, Trent, that's weird because we just got the 5% deposit scheme come in. Doesn't that mean that anyone with even a really massive income, and we'll talk to that in a second, can go and buy a house with half the deposit they may have had planned for in the first place without paying LMI? And the answer is obviously yes, that's the point of the scheme. But it's what the scheme is clearly already doing straight away. We can see it, and it has happened in anticipation of the scheme starting, to that price point of whatever's left really under $800,000. And having a quick chat with Lockie Delahunty a couple of weeks ago about this, he was spot on with those thoughts that it's really just going to suck everything that's left from 600 grand up to 800 grand really quickly and price people out of the market. A lot of those people who were planning on buying something for 650, maybe even with the 5% deposit scheme that had the threshold still and was still underneath the old threshold, and now that's gone and prices have jumped straight away in those markets. You operate and your team operates a lot in that $600,000 to $800,000 space. What's been happening in the dynamics of the negotiation table from September the 1st to now?
We've definitely noticed a lot more offers are coming on the table. So it's not unusual to have 10 plus offers on properties that are priced under 850.
And how do you manage that as an agent? Who gets attention? Who ends up getting the purchase most of the time?
Look, ultimately it's the seller's decision, and our job is to try and get as much money out of the market and put it on the table. So we've just had an example, a property in Dayton, 3x2 and 301 square meters. And
we call that a unit, or is that a house?
It's a house. It's a green title lot. And the house is nice as well, built by Home Group. And having approximately 53 groups through that property, straight away I was like, we're going to have double digits in offers. We ended up with 14 offers in play. And we've got the technology now to manage that. We've got bidding systems. We've got tech that can help manage that and communicate to buyers so they don't feel they're alienated. But the issue is you sell it to one person, you've got 13 others upset because we're driving the price north.
How often is that a first home buyer that gets it at the moment?
Oh, look, in this particular scenario, a very good example. The guy who bought it was an investor. So if you want to guess where his offer was $5,000 above the scheme. And he took it off the market. In terms of what we thought it was worth, it was in the high sevens. It ended up a little over 850. And he strategically did that right in the end, knowing that a lot of the buyers were first home buyers that are in that. And not only first home, but you think first home buyers are young people. There's a lot of people in different age groups that are buying a property for their first time as well. And we had a lot of offers between 8 to 850, which is what I'm finding now.
You said it was
high sevens. I thought we haven't seen a 3x2 on 300 square meters sell
This
in
is
the
about
mid-8s.
a smaller house you can call a house, 300 square meter block.
Yeah, it is small. And the point of this scheme is to make people buy properties, but there's no solution for supply. But the other issue as well is not everyone that's in the market can afford 850. So based on their serviceability, there's a lot there that tap out at 800, at 780, 790, that just feel like they're going to also be left behind because everything goes up. All the houses go up in the neighborhood. And suddenly no one will want 750 for that 3x2 on 300 square meters because we've just sold one in the mid-8s.
Yeah, and you just priced out straight away from one data point. Everyone sees that Rash just sold this for 850 something, and now clearly in mine, I thought it was 780. I want 850 something. I want 860 something. And there goes everyone within the scheme for any property in Dayton because you just sold the smallest house in Dayton for more than the scheme's threshold. And there goes Dayton. And we move to the next suburb up, Brabham, and see if we can sell something under 850 for that.
And I think you'll just find that'll become the normal. That'll become the baseline around the 8 to 850 mark, which I wouldn't be surprised if any properties around the 300 square meters will just have a fixed rate around that because I can already see it based on the offers.
Around Perth.
Perth, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that's quite telling, isn't it? That whilst the first home buyer scheme has come in place to help first home buyers, it's really just, I think, a great example there where it's led an investor to use that signpost to price the whole first home buyer market out of those properties straight away. That's a little bit worrying to me, given the intent of the scheme was to help people. And what I nearly feel like is that there was a window there. If it is not closed already, it would be closed in the next few months, I believe, for a lot of properties in that price point to have been able to be purchased under that 800 to 850 range. But the irony of it was that the actual ability to buy it didn't open until the 1st of October. But we saw a 1.6% price growth in September.
And not only that, it was supposed to come out end of Jan or something.
Yeah,
by
people
them
would have been saving for that point.
Yeah, by them bringing it forward, it reminded me of the building boost as well. And if we look at the behavior of buyers, the emotion in which people are calling in and having a chat on the phone, I need it now, that kind of indicates that the frenzy started. It reminded me of the land boost as well. And if you go into the land space as well, I'm afraid that this might cause other issues with the builders just signing up clients as well. And as human beings or business people, we just make the same mistakes on repeat because the government does the same thing. The snowball effect is the same. It's a ripple effect in businesses.
That is the capitalist side. It has a nature of greed to it. And the reality, I believe, is that the 850 threshold essentially is just a yardstick to drag all house and land package values with the house bit and the land bit up to 850. So whereas there might have been a house and land package that was sitting at 770 in July, I promise you they'll all be now at 850 by the end of the year. And that is simply the land developer taking an extra 30, 40 grand and the builder taking an extra 30, 40 grand for the same product as someone who signed up in July.
100%. And hopefully we already have a supply issue. So hopefully builders out there are not just taking on business and don't have the administration support, because one of the things I've noticed through our land sales as well, the times for those contracts are blowing out again. And that to me
As
is...
in the build contract? Or,
build contract, yeah.
What we've noticed on the developer side is when we were selling a couple of blocks a week maybe, when that announcement came out, I think we sold 15 lots in a week.
Yep, it was going to happen, and that's predominantly the issue. Currently, I'm getting anywhere from 25 to 30 calls a day just for land. And that is scary when we don't have enough supply of land out there.
Well, talking about the supply of land, we know that we sit around the 430 blocks of land available every week. It has been trending down slowly. And really, I think there's a ghost market there where there's a lot of land that just never comes to market. It just gets sold off market through investor channels, through owner-occupied building channels. It never hits REWA. So I think there's actually a lot of transactions happening in that space that we just never see it come as stock on market. But more tellingly, I guess, as reflection of the price points of the first homeowner scheme, which, if I can be clear again, allows first home buyers to have a 5% deposit without lender's mortgage insurance being incurred, guaranteed by the federal government. The big difference is the income thresholds are gone. You could make $1 million a year and now be eligible for this scheme. Some would argue that is not fair to have that means testing pulled away for those who really could save that money a lot quicker and should save that money a lot quicker, but also that the threshold has increased from 600 to 850.
Yep.
Now, that's the big impact we're seeing here, is just a pile on from every man and their dog, as well as investors jumping on the wave as well. And the point I was making to units is we've actually seen the biggest market decrease in the amount of units on the market over the last 12 months. We had about 880 12 months ago. We've now got about 615.
So that's a
just
quarter.
a reflection of price point, isn't it?
Yeah, quarter less units. And again, unit market as well. I think going back to the beginning of the year when we spoke, we said the arbitrage is in the unit purchasing because the replacement cost is so high and the supply is there and you're getting them really cheap because affordability is going to drive the market. And that's why there's less units now, because even with this grant, if you manage to save enough money to buy an apartment, you can get out of the rental trap.
I guess it's a compromise, isn't it?
Yeah.
The house up until maybe 2024, I'd say a lot of people could still aspire to a house. And I think just as an outcome of the continual price growth, houses are just now out of the reach of most people who are coming into the market if they haven't been sidestepping from another asset that they own. And therefore, not by choice, but just out of necessity, people who maybe were aspiring to buy that 4x2 in Duncraig are now buying the 2x1 unit.
Yeah, and I'm finding a lot of people are moving regional as well. So the more homes I go through, they're getting a good price. They want more space. So I think we'll see a lot of that regional market also pick up. Places like Bunbury have had significant growth. Of course, Dunsborough have a bit of a romantic feel to it and having an airport and all that. And downsizers moving down there, it's always going to do well. But a lot of that regional market is also driving, also had a lot of transactions happen as well. So, look, I think people will go where they can afford it initially. And for us, that doesn't help our town because instead of going upwards, we're still spreading far wide.
Taxpayer, really, it's not even the taxpayer because the government has gotten very good at passing this on to the first home buyer through developers via developer contribution schemes, developer contribution policy. It's really the first home buyer that pays for the urban expansion, unfortunately, and the investor, and therefore the renter at the end of the day. Can we give some hope to first home buyers? How does a first home buyer win at the negotiation table amongst 14 others when they're trying to buy a property that Rash Dhanjal is representing?
I think preparation is important for first home buyers. If they can show and demonstrate finances there, the pre-approval is there.
Does everyone not already have a...
Not necessarily. We're having a lot of those scenarios and we've got to do the due diligence on the buyers because a lot of them are rushed to come and buy it compared to what you said. Let's save the money. Let's get there. There's a lot of confusion there. So through that chaos, we've also got to protect our sellers. I think the best thing you can do is actually have a pre-approval in place. Get your broker ready to receive calls from agents. Make sure they're having a conversation. Make sure that you've got your paperwork in place because there's a lot of confusion. People have savings but might not have the serviceability and the time hasn't been spent to actually have a pre-approval in place. A lot of the banks, and I don't know if this is true from what I hear, the word on the street is they are treating those at high interest rates as well, regardless of whether the government's backing up the 15% no LMI, the banks also will look at it in their internal policies. Yeah, so I think that's very important. Come out, have a look at the property, and try and get support. The other thing we're finding is buyers agents are working with first home buyers for a relatively small amount of money. You can get support. If you're not able to get out there for the home open or get private inspections, they have access to properties that you probably wouldn't see on the internet. So my recommendation is speak to a buyer's agent, get some support from friends and family. Like those are the fundamental things they can do.
So let me run this example again that you gave before in Dayton. 14 offers. There are investors in there. There are second home buyers in there, I assume, and there are first home buyers. Were there any people being represented by a buyer's agent?
Yes, 3.
Okay. And they all lost the property?
Yep. Yeah.
All right. So we had people who were first home buyers as well. Were there people with pre-approvals?
Yes, people with pre-approvals. People with also no pre-approval, they still lost to the investor.
What else could they have done? Is it just price?
It is price at this stage. What we do, and when we go back to the vendor, is because we've done the due diligence and know the buyers, the top 3 or 4 offers, we explain their scenarios. We've had one in Beachboro where it sold to an owner-occupier. The seller said, I don't need the extra 20,000, I already made 100,000 more than I wanted, and decided to go with the owner-occupier. So it does happen.
That's pretty rare, though, isn't it? If it was me, I'd be taking that 20 grand.
You would be, yes, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. It does happen. And sometimes we have scenarios where you have an investor and owner-occupier or a buyer's agent representing a first home buyer, trying to get them in their first home, and the owner will most likely takes the local buyer's offer as well, because they support people like themselves. Yeah.
Let's say you've got 3 offers on the table. One's a first home buyer by themselves with a pre-approval. One's a first home buyer with a buyer's agent with a pre-approval. One's an investor. Are you most likely, honestly, probably talking to the buyer's agent first, because there's that collegiate representation, there's confidence that they've done their vetting as well. Your job's going to be a bit easier if you're working with a buyer's agent on the other side. Is that a reality or not?
Not really, but again, it does make it easier from a due diligence perspective, because they're also being hired and they're not going to waste their time to go and run around if they can't actually purchase the property. And there is that confidence where you're talking to a buyer's agent and will just...
They know the game, to give you. They can give you that confidence that you don't have to waste your time asking you the 50 questions a first home buyer would have already asked them. It makes your life a lot easier. Now, I'm not advocating for it for any other reason that I just finally think that... And look, we've been going through this journey myself with a number of friends over the last couple of years. And I've said, go get a buyer's agent. You've been trying to find a property for a year and a half. You've probably lost $200,000-$300,000 already waiting. You could have just used a buyer's agent in 2023 and you'd be ahead already. I just wonder if we're at that point now where if you're not going to go and get your own house and land package, which is what a lot of people are doing simply to cop out, really, just because they've realised they can't compete. They've just put their hand up, the white flag's up and gone, I'll just go house and land package. I don't have to compete anymore. If you're not going to do that, then I just struggle to see how 25-year-old Johnny and Jane, who are renting at the moment, can compete with Dave, the investor who's 45 and has 5 properties, has done this 20 times and knows exactly what to do to get that property off you.
Yeah, I think it is difficult, but if you can represent yourself or your story, a good agent will always go and talk to the seller and explain the buyers in the scenario. Even sellers want to know, if someone's buying my place, I just recently sold my house. I was emotionally connected to the buyers because they were family just like us with 2 kids, and their mum stayed with them. I was like, perfect. And the price was right. And had it been 2 offers very similar, I would have most likely gone with them anyway. Property is emotion, and property is an emotional index, I call it.
Maybe that's the strategy. Maybe that's something we need to be clear with our listeners today from a first home buyer's side, is maybe it's not all about the quantitative side. Maybe try and add a bit of the qualitative side to your offer. Become personable with the agent. Have them nearly represent you. If you don't win that first property, follow them around to the next property and the next property, so that they eventually recognize you, build some rapport and go, I really want to help Johnny and Jane out. I'm going to put them forward and give them every coaching point I can to allow them to get that next property that I find.
Yeah, and it does happen. You find those buyers that spend 3 months with you. You want to help them. We are representing the seller, but we're dealing with human beings at the end of the day with the most basic necessity, which is shelter.
Yeah, there's empathy involved there, right? Let's talk about the basic need of shelter and back on the seller's side. What's the strategy at the moment for your sellers? And especially a lot of those sellers who would be sellers but actually not able to bring their property to the market yet, given the lack of mobility right now. What's happening there? Can you give me an update on your dynamic as a selling agent for what's in the wings compared to what you'd like to be selling right now, simply because of mobility, and what you're doing about it as an agent to bring stuff to market?
Yeah, so the biggest issue is it's bottlenecked, yeah? So my sellers need to go somewhere. And if you don't have good relationships with other agents in places they need to go, some of the things we're doing is we have a seller survey that we do. We actually survey the sellers on where they want to go with all their options. And that information is shared within the business to see if we can find solutions.
To try and activate them as a seller.
Correct.
Yeah.
To match them against appraisals that have been done in the last 6 months to a year in terms of location, size, and all that. And that takes time, energy, and resources. It's not as simple as it looks.
There's only 2,820 properties on the market. Only about 1,700 of them are houses, right? And that means that 600 of them are units. That's it for the whole state. So if you're not doing all this back work, you're not getting the next listing. The pie is a lot smaller. It's more valuable, but it's a lot smaller than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, we basically have to reverse engineer 3 transactions. So who's coming in there? Where are they going? The other thing we're doing as well is we're getting properties ready for sale. Even in this market, we are having subject to sales happen. And the reason is because ad copy is done, photo videos are done. We're pretty much ready to go. And we're asking for short terms in terms of, here's a subject to sell, but we only need a week to sell it. We need to go past the weekend, give us till Tuesday in the next week, and we'll get it done. So a lot of our clients are lined up, ready, so they're out shopping so that we can just launch the property immediately. That's some of the other strategies that have been working with us. Then we will work with that agent to, again, have rapport with them, explain that, look, this is going to sell. We're also pricing it in the subject sale contract reasonably. We're not asking for overs on it. So we want to make sure that everyone's on the same page.
How many properties has your team got on the market right now for sale?
About 47.
How many do you reckon you could have if the rest of the people in your network could move tomorrow?
Maybe a couple of hundred. Yeah, I know
that's mental, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And I think that if you extrapolate that out to the market, it's like there's 10,000 properties on the market.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that would like to move. And I was just in a home today and having the same conversation. It's a beautiful home, 4x2 with a swimming pool. They've just had a baby. The space isn't enough. The backyard is just not quite right. And they've got the money. House is almost paid off. They just need the next property. And they're struggling to find it in that east corridor. And I said, oh, look, this is the process. We've got a process we follow now with these clients to get them to their next home. But that takes energy and resources. If you're alone and you can't do it, how many people can you help?
Yeah, exactly right.
You need processes, systems in place to actually find those properties. So the reverse engineering is something that needs to happen to open up the stock in the market.
What nearly requires a selling agent to employ a buyer's agent to help them be a selling agent.
Yeah, 100%.
Rash, we're in October at the moment. Let's look forward to Christmas. And let's have a couple of punts.
Okay.
We've got 3 months left of the year, essentially. What percentage increase in the median house price do you think we'll see by New Year's Eve?
A minimum 7%.
Yeah, I was going to say 5, so
yeah.
I can't believe I'm more conservative. And that's telling, obviously. With regards to selling days, sitting at about 11 days at the moment, does it move? It can't really go down. We're at a natural zero right now.
Yes. So, look, if anything, and we've noticed this fluctuates between 11 to 18 days or 20 days.
Hasn't been above 13 or 14 in about 3 years, though.
Yeah. So, if anything, in December, if there's not a lot of movement, but look, I'd say probably 15 would be the days on market if we do have a lot of stock. But if I can guess, I'll say probably 13, 14 days. All right. Yeah.
Let's talk to stock on market now. We are at a new record, and we've been hitting a new record every week for a number of weeks now. It's really been, bar a few weeks, a new record low since we hit last year's record, and it's been decreasing since last Christmas. Where are we going to be at Christmas time? 2,820 at the moment. Where is it by Christmas?
This is a very difficult question.
It's hard to imagine it getting lower, but we've been saying that for 4 years.
My heart's telling me hopefully 3,500 properties.
Yeah.
Just because we do need the stock. But if nothing changes, we'll be in the low threes.
Start of December, it was 5,500 last year. And that dropped below 5,000 by Christmas last year. The irony of all of this is we're supposed to be in spring selling season. Stock is supposed to be increasing naturally right now as people think it's a good time to get the roses out and get the signboard out saying it's time to sell. They want to move. People do things this time of year. They move. The irony is we're losing property every week since the 1st of September. We've been losing property every week in spring for the first time really ever. But I can't see it getting lower than 3,000 or 4,000. So where do I think it will be? I think we will be at 3,500 by the 1st of December and then back down to 3,000 by Christmas, which is just horrendous, mate. Mobility is absolutely the problem right now.
This is probably the new normal. We said this last time, and okay, we saw a little bit more stock, but now 3,500 to 4,000 probably isn't a lot as well. Yeah,
no,
it's still a problem.
7,000 is not a lot, Rash.
Yeah.
We're so warped. We were sitting here 3 years ago with my head in my hands, going, "We just dropped below 8,000 over Christmas."
Yep. And if you look at the last 10 years, because now it's 2025, and COVID was 5 years ago. And you look at 5 years prior to that, you look at the graph, it was fluctuating on that 12,000 average, and then it dips, and then it goes to 8,000, 9,000, and then it stays low. And there's this big telling sign of where the Perth market was with all that supply, and now with barely nothing left.
Is that not just a direct correlation to immigration? Because at the same time, we went from having literally a handful of people enter our state net every year to 90,000, 80,000, 70,000, 70,000. We're building maximum 20,000 houses every year, which would service maximum 40,000 people each year. So really,
we're building half the number of houses we needed this year.
So why would there be anything less than what you would call natural zero stock on market? Selling a third of the stock on market every week. Why would there be more than that right now if we're going to keep importing that many people?
Yeah, and that's true, because that doesn't help the scenario for sure, because we've had 75,000 more people last year, last 12 months. And this will continue being the issue unless we can come up with a creative way to add more supply, not just
I think we're being optimistic, Rash. I don't think there's one out there. If there was, we would have figured it out. The only way you slow this down is you slow the people down.
Yeah.
That's it, because clearly we don't have a handle on who we're bringing in. Because if we did, we would have actually been bringing people in that could build the houses they want to live in. So we're not doing that. So it's really a case of we're either all complicit in, we're importing 70, 80,000 people a year, and we're all going to watch our house prices grow and our kids struggle to buy into the market unless they can use our equity for guarantees. If that's cool, let's all agree to just do that. And we'll shut the podcast down and we'll crack on.
Yeah.
Or something's done about that, but I just don't see that happening with this government.
I don't think it'll happen in the next 2 to 5 years as well. This will just be...
This government will be in for 2 to 5 years.
Yes, and nothing will change, and we'll just keep having this conversation. And by chucking in the first home buyers scheme, it doesn't solve a supply issue.
No.
So hang on, what are we doing here? Oh, we're making property more accessible. No, we're actually...
blowing it up.
We're making it worse. And to be honest, I would also, as a business owner, love a steady business. Because what happens in a steady business, we can plan for it. We can plan for our future. By having these crazy events happen, it's just not smart. It's not smart by the government. It's not smart for the community. It's just going to cause more housing issues, have people sleeping in cars. I always picture Perth as this beautiful place. I'm driving on Reed Highway on one of the freeways, Oro Highway, and it's clean and everything's nice. And then I picture people underneath the bridges with their little fire and tents. Because, hang on, we were known for being this place where it was chilled, relaxed.
Everyone had a place to be.
Everyone had a place to be. It was home. So it's sad to see the stuff that's happening with the people sleeping in cars and parks. It's just not fair.
Yeah, not fair is probably the best way to put it. People, I think, need to be aware of this, to listen to it, and to be aware of why it's happening. If the government was going to do anything, for me, on a demand side, it would have been cut stamp duty for first-home buyers completely. That's 5%. It's the same 5% that you've just made them not pay, but at least now it's not a tax. They can keep that money in their pocket. That would have been a lot easier for me to handle if there was going to be a demand-side incentive to assist first-home buyers into the market. But
the other one as well is similar to that, is the retired folk that want to move to the next property.
Yeah, so
they can't because they don't have the income, they don't have the ability to do that. The stamp duty really hurts them because unless they get out of their properties, it doesn't open it up for first home buyers as well.
Yep, and if I was a Liberal government, that's what I'd be talking about. My policy for the next election would be free stamp duty for first home buyers and free stamp duty for last house downsizes. You'd capture it. A lot of young people who are just looking for a way in, and a lot of older people that you've disenfranchised over the last few years. That's my last thought.
I agree. For a lot of the buyers out there, just keep the energy. I think don't lose hope, because sometimes it's only around the corner that you will secure a property, because you don't want to sit out of this market for another year. It might take a little bit longer, but I think just stay on top of it, move, get on as many off-market lists with agents. And
make friends with agents.
You never know, someone might
try the quality
you
of
might
outcome.
relate to someone's story. As an agent, might see themselves in you as a young person and say, you know what, I need to help them. Yeah, work together. Let's work together as a community.
Cheers, Rash.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Perth Property Show. If you've only just joined the conversation, you can catch up by heading over to our website, perthpropertyshow.com.au, subscribing to the podcast, or joining our Facebook page. Don't forget to tune in next Monday at 7 a.m. for more expert insights, local analysis, and suburb spotlights. Happy hunting!